and welcome everyone to another episode of End the Lie Radio. I am your host, Madison Rupert, and you're listening to us here on ucy.tv. Of course, my website is endthelie.com. You can scroll down there to the bottom of the page and check us out on the various social media networks. And please do, our Facebook page continues to grow rapidly, and there's a lot of interesting conversations that go on there. You can give your feedback to our articles or, of course, comment on any of them there directly on the website. Today, our guest is Reverend Edward Pinkney, and his organization's website is bhbanco.org. That's bhbanco.org. And he also has a blog talk radio show, which I'll have him describe to us in a moment. But his organization is very interesting. He's going to tell us a little bit about it and what they're up to and his personal story. I'm sure this is going to be an exciting show as usual. Reverend Pinkney, thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you, Madison, so much for having me on your show. I tell you, it's an honor and a privilege to be here and to be here with you.
Well, thank you. That's very generous. Tell us a little bit about your blog talk show before we talk about your organization.
Very good. My blog talk show is every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can go to blogtalkradio.com, Reverend Pinkney. It's the Pinkney Show. Or you can call in at 347-994-3644. That's every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And what we normally do when people have issues across the country, and matter of fact, even internationally, they usually call in and want to talk about and come up with some kind of solutions that we can do. We're always talking about different things, especially we even talk about people who've been targeted by our government. They call themselves TI individuals, which really makes the show very, very interesting. We have a tremendous audience that listen to our show also, but we try to focus on people issues around the world.
Well, it sounds like a great show, Reverend, and I hope people will check it out. But tell us a little bit about your organization. It's called Banco, correct?
That is correct. That is the Black Autonomy Network Community Organization. And it was started in 1999. Matter of fact, my wife, she was very instrumental in starting it. Matter of fact, she became also the co-founder after I became more involved with it. But we actually put it together, and it's designed to deal with the court system. See, what we do, we've been court watching since the year 2000. And what we normally do, we go to the courthouse every day, and we sit and take notes and monitor the judges, the court-appointed attorneys, and the prosecutor. And some of them we have been very, very successful at this because we even help out people that actually need help. We bond people out of jail if they need to be bonded out. We go out and hire a private investigator for people who need that type of service. So far, in the last couple of years alone, we have gotten 4 people off that was said to have murdered someone, and we found out that they did not do it. And more than 400 cases we have actually had dismissed maybe in the last 3-4 years.
Wow, that's a very impressive record. And from what I understand, in your community, you're facing a lot of this kind of activity, these wrongful accusations and so on. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We just had one cop. He planted drugs on over 300 people in our community, sent them all to prison, and we finally busted him and sent him to prison. And the only way that he was able to be sent to prison, he had a fight with a white guy in St. Joseph, Michigan. And when they figured that he had to be high on drugs or something, and when they went to his locker, he had a whole locker full of drugs. And but he only here's the sad part about it. When he was planting drugs on people was getting 5 and 10 years in prison. He planted drugs on over 300 people, and he gets 16 months. So that just doesn't add up, you know. So, and he still had a whole locker full of illegal drugs. So we have had it. So what I did, I went out and got these people a lawyer, probably about 60 of them, sued. The rest of them was too intimidated to come out of the closet and actually file a suit. So we did get 60 people to file suits. They all got close to $100,000 about it on it, and we moved on. We kind of like make sure that people understand how important it is that you have to police the police. You have to police the court system. You have to police the court-appointed attorneys. You have to police the prosecutor and the judge. And we're not intimidated by the judge, which makes it so important that they understand that we're here and we're here to stay. There's nothing more important than standing up to law enforcement, going chest to chest and toe to toe with them, because most people are too intimidated to even speak the truth. They have gotten people to come into the court and lie for no reason, and which is so amazing. And I tell you, it's just been one of those situations. But we must continue to do the things that need to be done, and just do. I hope that may be Madison there.
Well, it's amazing to me the discrepancy in terms of sentencing. I can remember one of the police officers who killed a young man. I think it was in Oakland, and he was sentenced to, I think it was something ridiculous like 2 years, and then got out after slightly over a year. Of course, if anyone else is sentenced, it's automatic 25 to life.
Absolutely.
Is this just absolutely blatant corruption and nothing else? What do you think is causing that?
Well, here's the thing. The system itself is designed to, it's a profit situation. It's no longer there to rehabilitate people or to help people. When you go to prison nowadays or you get arrested, it's strictly about money. That's all it is. It's about finance, and it's a big money operation now. And what they was doing, they knew that this guy was planting drugs on people, but they didn't care. They cared less because what he was doing, he was fitting into what they was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, ultimately, it seems as long as they get people behind bars, it doesn't matter how it happens. If they get caught later doing something wrong to get these people behind bars, then they'll deal with it. But as long as people are getting locked up, then that means more money for them, more tax money to keep their department afloat. And, of course, the private prison corporations just love it.
Oh, absolutely, and what you're saying is so true. And you see, even today, this same guy would still been planting drugs on people. If not, we had spoke up and got them. They care less, really, what you say, unless you put enough pressure on them. And by Banco being an organization big enough to actually challenge them, that's why we do not have that much of an issue with them.
And I also understand you're facing some issues in your community with developers coming in and wanting to change your local area. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely, because Whirlpool Corporation is here. And what they're doing, they're gentrifying the whole community. But here's what we did. We had an opportunity to stop them cold. In 2004, we went out and tried to stop them. We knew that they needed 6 votes. Matter of fact, our elected officials are bought and sold. Whirlpool owns our elected official. Whatever Whirlpool wants, Whirlpool gets. And so what we did, we went out and was going to recall the big honcho, the guy who's in control named Glenn Yarborough. Matter of fact, anytime there was money distributed, it was given to him, and he would pass it along to the other commissioners. And we figured it out, so we decided we were going to do a recall of him. See, they figured he had the largest family here in the city of Benton Harbor. And also he had Whirlpool money. So they figured it would be virtually impossible to recall this man. So what we did, we came up with a plan. Well, we were going to use the absentee ballot in order to stop this hostile takeover of the community, redevelopment, gentrification, all that was coming about, and they was moving fast. So we went out and recalled this guy. and a funny thing, they figured that nobody would have the resources to stand up to Whirlpool and to have the people to back them on this. We won the recall by over 300-something votes. And they said, these are their words, that either Reverend Pinkney is a crook or he's the smartest man there is in the world. And I took that as a compliment. And so here's what they did. After realizing that this young man, Glenn Yarborough, had lost the election, they went out and paid somebody $10 to say that I paid them $5 in order to try to reverse the election. So what they was doing, they was going around the community trying to find people who would actually say that I paid them money. They couldn't find anybody else. So they found a young lady who said that she gave me her absentee ballot. So if you give somebody an absentee ballot, that's a felony. So what they did, they got a couple of people to say that. They paid them well, and we went to court. They didn't have, they couldn't find but about 4 votes out of all the folks. We won by over 50-something votes. And they decided that on those folks right there, that they was going to reverse the election and put this man that we have defeated, put him back in his seat so they can continue with this project. So then they came after me. They charged me with voter fraud. And we had 2 trials. The first trial ended in a hung jury, which they knew for a fact that they couldn't convict me, but they brought these people in and said, well, Reverend Pinkney paid me $5, and knowing, but they had paid him $10 to say that I paid him $5. So that was even came out in the trial. We had one guy that was there that was in jail, and he said on tape that we had the tape, we produced it in court, that he told them he wanted to know, were you still going to pay me for testifying against Pinkney? And we had that, but the judge wouldn't let it in because he said, well, we're not talking about the officer, we're talking about Pinkney right now. So what happened was that trial ended in a hung jury. The next trial, I was convicted by an all-white jury that was motivated by something other than the truth, and they had about 6 or 7 people that worked at Whirlpool on that jury. So then, furthermore, what happened was that I write an article for People Tribune. It's a newspaper out of Chicago, a small newspaper, maybe about 10, 15 pages. And in the article, I quoted Deuteronomy 28, starting with the 15th verse, which simply said, if you do not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God and do all these things is right, all these bad things will come upon you. And the judge said it was a threat on his life. So they arrested me again, and this time they sent me to prison for 3 to 10 years for quoting the Bible. But unfortunately for them, the ACLU and lawyers came from all over the country to support me. The Catholic Church, the Church of God in Christ, all these people came from all over the country to support me. They helped me defeat them. And the appeal court overturned that conviction, and I was released. So that was one good thing. But the gentrification was in process. While I was gone, I was in prison a whole year. And during that process, they was going on with their plan. Now they had put this guy that we had taken out of his seat. They put him back in his seat, and then he voted for the gentrification of the community. And then they built this signature Jack Nicklaus golf course. And now what they're doing, they're building the condominiums around the golf course. These $1 million and $500,000 condominiums, and also they're building on the beach. So what they're doing now is building the community up and displacing the people that live here. But you're talking about a community that is 70% unemployed, over 90% live below the poverty level, which is 93% African American. So what they're doing now, they're slowly driving everybody out, pushing them back until they relieve them of their homes and everything else. Now they got a saying that if your water bill is not paid, they can condemn your home. And that's what they've been going through the community, condemning your homes. So it's been a real life struggle, and we've been fighting for our lives, and we continue to fight this battle, and we will. Madison, I got to say this because it is so important that we continue doing what we do.
Well, it sounds like a pretty amazing story. And it also sounds like you're facing a great deal of corruption there at the local level. Is that something you're running into in all of these cases, whether it's battling police officers who are planting drugs or dealing with these paid off politicians and so on?
Oh, absolutely. And what you're saying is so tremendous because that is exactly what's happening here. Whirlpool controls everything in this community. Anything that happens in this community, they have to go through Whirlpool. And it's amazing because we had called for an international boycott of all Whirlpool products. And we have downgraded them all the way down to a negative credit rating. Just on the, not that we was doing so great with the boycott, it's just the word mentioned in the boycott. And I think that's really set the banks and everybody in a tailspin that we're going to downgrade them to a negative credit rating. But now they have regrouped, and now they're back to almost a normal credit rating. But what we want to do, we want to make sure that people understand that some of these battles we can win if we stand up to these corporations. They're taking over everything. They're taking over all the community. They're taking over the people. You name it, they're doing it here in the city of Benton. Corruption, I mean, when you speak of corruption here, it's everything. It's not just one thing. It's everything. And everything that Whirlpool got their hands in is definitely evil.
Well, why is this particular corporation so interested in your community?
Well, they plan on being here permanently. Matter of fact, every time they come in and ask for, well, here's the thing: they pay no taxes at all. They get free water, even the water of the golf course. At one time they had spliced into the water supply. In other words, they were stealing water. They had spliced into the water supply, and the only way they got busted, the pipe busted. And when that pipe busted, they had to have some people to come out and repair it, and they discovered that the Whirlpool Corporation, Harbor Shores project, had sliced into the pipes and was using that water to water the golf course. And 'cause as you know, that watering that golf course takes a lot of money, and a lot of water. So they would call themselves going to get free water until that moment. Now what they do, they're pumping water out of the Paw Paw River for free, and that's an illegal thing. You can't pump water out of the Paw Paw River. If that was the case, everybody would be doing it. So that's what they do. When you talk about corruption here, and then here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. Fred Upton is the U.S. representative from this area. He's the heir to Whirlpool. So anything that's done federally, they get done. And that's why it's amazing that we have continued to fight this battle. And actually, we had some major victories. And you don't get many major victories because we don't have the resources. But when you get victory, you're supposed to be gloating. You're supposed to be standing up and saying, hey, this is us. We should have a parade after every victory. That's how I look at it. But my point is, we have to do something. And Madison, remember this, you have to tell your audience, if you sit back and do nothing, nothing will happen. I believe in fighting for everything.
Well, that's very true. And can you tell us a little bit about what victories you have had there in your community?
Well, here's the thing. One of the things we had when they split the pipes open, we stopped them from actually stealing water from the city of Benton Harbor. Number two, which is even more important, the boycott of all Whirlpool products. That was, just whether it was successful because it was out there, more or less. Not because people wasn't buying them. People have stopped buying Whirlpool products. And even today, so they came up with a new idea with the name KitchenAid to neutralize that. So they had to reroute their whole program in order to get people to start buying Whirlpool products again. So I look at that as a major victory. And number three, we won that election with Glenn Yarborough with the backing of Whirlpool money. Whirlpool was supporting Glenn Yarborough, and yet and still we beat this corporation and beat them down. And number 4, which is even more important, they tried to steal this land, and they thought that the people of Benton Harbor would not take the time out to investigate that this land did not belong to Whirlpool or any of their subdivisions. It belongs to the residents of Benton Harbor, and we stopped them from taking and putting the deed in their name unless they paid for it. And then they later bought it, but we actually made money off of it, which was pretty important to us. So those are 5 victories that I can say right off the top of my head that we really sit around and gloat about. We had a big parade about it, and we continue to fight these folks on this level. And in 2011, Governor Snyder came here. Do you know anything about the emergency manager?
No, I don't. I know about the one in Detroit. I'm not sure.
Well, we had one first. See, the city of Benton Harbor, it was the first one to have what they call the emergency manager with absolute power. That was under Public Act 4. And what it simply said that, well, let me tell you, the first thing this guy did, the emergency manager did when he came in, he fired the mayor. He took the mayor's desk, a beautiful oak desk, and put it in the basement. Told him he could no longer use his office. You're through dealing. As a matter of fact, you would no longer be getting paid. So if you want to still be have the title of the mayor, it's all right. But you have no power. You have no say-so. You don't have an office. You have nothing. Then he told all the other elected officials, the commissioners, he made them give up their key. Couldn't use the computer there, no secretary. And then this what really made those commissioners mad. He made them give up their cell phones. Now, one thing you can't do, you can't make a black person give up that cell phone. If you want to see them fight, they'll fight over that, because they could no longer communicate in their eyesight. So when he took their cell phone, then they want to come and fight with me now. They want to join Reverend Pinkney now. So here's what we did. We started having rallies. The first one, we had maybe 1,000 people showed up for the rally. It was tremendous. We marched all through the city, and people say, well, why are you out here marching? Well, we marched so other people are joining and understand, to educate the people that there's a major problem here. You cannot have a person to come in here and take over your government, and the people who have voted in other words, your vote means nothing. That's what they was telling you. Democracy no longer exists in the city of Benton Harbor. So then what they did, which is even more important, they started giving Whirlpool land, and they didn't have to go through the city commission. They started giving them land. Benton Harbor is a city that's surrounded by water. When it's surrounded by this much water, it makes a difference. And that's what they want. They got a high school sitting right on the lake with the football field and everything. They want it desperately. And they're using all their power, all their resources to make sure it get done. So that's really what's happening. But anyway, even knowing that we got the emergency manager here, we were the first city to have the emergency manager that had absolute power now. There was other cities that had emergency manager, but they didn't have absolute power. So what happened was the governor came here. He was the grand marshal of the parade. And what I did, I organized the union, because the union was being attacked by Governor Snyder also. So we organized more than 5,000 people to show up for this parade, and mostly white. And what we did, the governor saw all these people standing on the bridge, both sides of the bridge, all the way down about maybe a mile or so down the road, maybe 2 miles even. He had the idea that all these people was there to cheer him on. And so instead of him riding in his convertible, he decided he was going to walk across the bridge. And that's what we was hoping. Matter of fact, when he got to the bridge, we had our signs behind our backs so he wouldn't see them, and his team would not see him. So he come strolling across the bridge, just waving, and that's when everybody, you talking about more than 5,000 people, just turned their back and started shouting, "Recall Rick, recall Rick, recall Rick. And as he passed each group, we joined the parade and was right behind him. Security wasn't strong enough because they didn't anticipate this. This is one time we got away with something that was so tremendous. And everybody, as he passed them, joined the parade. We did this for about a mile. And when first chance he got, he cut across the street. His SUV came, picked him up, and he ran, and we ran after him. We were talking about 5,000 people chasing this automobile. And that Monday morning, he had already terminated all the teachers in the city of Benton Harbor. He rescinded that because people stood up and fought. You know, anytime that you stand up and fight and they see you fighting, they will understand that we're serious, especially that many people, because they never anticipated that many people would stand up for an issue in reference to the emergency manager. No, nobody, they figure like this. This is what they do, and most people are not going to do anything anyway. So that was another major victory that we had. But more important than that, we got people thinking and rocking. And when you think about Benton Harbor, it's a very, very small community. And I figured, you know, and we wasn't that bad. We wasn't, you know, maybe $500,000 in the red. They had said we was $2.5 million, but it turned out that we knew already that we wasn't but $500,000 in the red. But they wanted to take over the city just to see the reaction of the people, because they know most of the time, most people don't do anything. All we do is sit around and talk. All this talking is not going to get us anywhere. You have to have action. And I believe in action. I believe any time there's something that needs to be done, you should always be prepared to get out there and do things. So that's one of the things. And when you talk about that emergency manager, you're talking about something, because this guy is wow. The new guy, we chased the old one out, but the new one is in now. But we're here to fight Madison. We're here to show them what we can do if we work together. And we're here for that. We always talk about the emergency manager for the simple reason it's going to be all over the country. It will not be long before every single city have what they call an emergency manager. Right now, there's 7 cities in the state of Michigan. 7 cities in the state of Michigan that has an emergency manager, and 3 school districts. And I tell you, this thing is something that people need to know about. It's amazing when you think about it, but we must continue to do the things that need to be done. Until the people take a stand, things are going to continue to be just this way. And I say, we must take this thing beyond the call of duty. We need every hand on deck just to show them. But we have to fight. We have to fight and stand up and fight for what's right. When people from around the country came and we had a protest, and basically what we did, we lined up on the sidewalks. We had our signs, and the sign was saying, "Recall Rick." And the best part about it was that instead of him riding in the convertible, he decided to walk across the bridge because he thought all these people was for him. Everybody was going to be there cheering him, and he hit it across the bridge. He started waving and stuff, and he first ran into me, and after he passed me, everybody turned at the same time and started hollering, "Recall Rick, recall the governor, recall Rick," and it was on. And then we all joined the parade, which what made it so amazing. And then everybody got in the parade with him. He ran and jumped in his SUV, and we chased him completely out of the city of Benton Harbor. And he was angry. But here's the best part. The best part about this whole thing was that on Monday morning, he had rescinded the termination of all the teachers in the city of Benton Harbor. That was a major victory because he had given each and every one of the teachers a pink slip. And what they was going to do, they were probably going to rehire some of them at a lesser salary. But that showed what we can do when we work together. It was amazing. So on that note, Madison, whatever you want to say.
Well, what I want to know is, what are you guys still facing a ton of cuts in programs and services? Is the emergency manager still working there? Because I know, Detroit which I'm not sure how far Detroit is from you guys, but that city
it's
is
175 miles, but they come from Detroit to down here, and we go from here to Detroit. We work together hand in hand with them. But here's the thing about the Detroit deal that most people didn't understand. We warned the Detroit residents. We told the Detroit residents that they did not want little bitty Benton Harbor, that they wanted to see how the people will react to a hostile takeover of the government. You see, but the people in Detroit say, well, Detroit is too big to have an emergency manager. They said we're too big. They would never even think about doing something like that. And their idea was they would build them out. No, sir. If I'm trying to take you over, why would I want to bail you out? That wasn't even logical. Matter of fact, they're thinking, I don't know what they were thinking about, but whatever they were thinking, it was wrong. Because they came, and when they came after the city of Benton Harbor to take everything that we own, everything that was of value. They gave it to Whirlpool, and and then like in Detroit, they got about 7 billionaires that actually control the city, and they actually made the decision. You got General Motors, you got Ford, you got Chrysler, you got the whole car industry there, but what their job is to get. Here's what they did. With the governor help, the bow that they had, they was able to reduce the amount of money that each worker was making per hour. You see, a lot of people don't understand that. When you lay off that many people at one time, naturally, foreclosure is going to kick in. And that's one of the biggest things that attacked Benton Harbor, foreclosures. We were, with the help of the emergency manager, we were stripped. We were stripped of everything that we own. Now what they're doing, they're stripping the city of Benton Harbor now. That bankruptcy court, the federal judge ruled that it was legal for the city of Benton, Detroit, to file bankruptcy. You see, this gives them the power to strip everything down. These billionaires, they're getting ready to run all the people out, displace all people of color. And that's the whole program. I mean, what's happening in Detroit was something that they didn't foresee. You see, they thought that the attack was just on cities like Highland Park, Michigan, Pontiac, Michigan, Flint, Michigan. These are all people that have the emergency manager. It's a total of 7 cities that now have the emergency manager, and they were thinking that it would never happen to them because we are way too big. That's the language, and that's what they've been taught to say, that we're too big. And sure enough, they now have what you call an emergency manager, and and they doing what they're supposed to do. When you see an opportunity, if you're a businessman and you see an opportunity that's great, you're going to jump on it. And that's what's happened to the city of Detroit. And really, Detroit really wasn't that bad off. It's just the banks. The banks destroyed the city of Detroit. They destroyed the city of Detroit. And once everybody started moving out of the city, at one time they was the 4th largest city in the whole country. Now they got less than 700,000 people there. So that's what you get, Madison.
Well, recently I was talking with Brandon Turbeville, who hosts a show here on UCY.tv, and he's written several books and writes for Activist Post, and he's actually written about some of the work that you're doing, and we were talking about the situation in Detroit and how really it seems to be this common theme where economic problems will arise. They might be. Some would argue that they're created economic problems. Someone creates an economic problem and then comes in and because there's so much debt and the city's in so much trouble, they start privatizing. They start selling off formerly public assets to private individuals. So for dirt cheap, of course, it becomes a kind of fire sale, somewhat a clearance sale. So the people who really benefit are the people who are rich enough to come in, and it's corporations or private individuals, but they're able to come in and buy up these public assets. Is that something you think is accurate?
Oh, absolutely. That is 100%. And it might be more than 7 billionaires in Detroit, but it's 7 that we know of. They are the ones right now. They're fighting with each other over land in the city of Benton. Sam Gilbert, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and with that Quicken loan, that guy, he's like a madman down there. He's buying blocks and blocks and blocks of the downtown community at one time. Matter of fact, he was negotiating for certain areas before the emergency manager got there, and negotiating with the emergency manager in a private meeting before he got there. He knew who the emergency manager was going to be before the residents of Detroit even thought about it. You see, he knew about it because he'd been negotiating with them for over 2 years now. And they knew it was going to be Calvin Orr. I didn't know. I had no idea. But I also knew that the city of Detroit was going to get an emergency manager because that's what the whole plan. That's what they were shooting for. And you talking about a garage sale. These folks, they're getting ready to make a even bigger killing now. And once again, like I told them, some of the loans that the city of Detroit took out was unsecured. If it's unsecured, they shouldn't have to pay. But they said the banks is going to get their money first. So there you go.
Yeah, it sounds to me like some people are going to cash in really big. And have you seen that in your community of Benton Harbor as well? Have people been able to come in and buy up these formerly public assets at dirt cheap?
We only have one person or one corporation, that's Whirlpool, who buying up everything. Whatever they want, they get. All they want is that land that's surrounded by water. That's the only thing they don't care nothing about the inner city. And they're still pushing. They tore down maybe about a couple of square miles of land to build this golf course and these condominiums. And once they got that, they're satisfied now. It's on the other side of the tracks. And so they're satisfied is on that side of the tracks now. But here's the other kicker. They got this, when you go deeper into the communities, you got, the roads are bad, the houses are bad, the service is bad, everything is bad. Matter of fact, there is no service. And this is, but on this other side, there's nothing but service. So, when you think about Benton Harbor, you think about this emergency manager, you know that he has a one-track mind. And that is not to help the community, the African-American community. So that's what we get. And that's what Detroit going to be like. Detroit is a city that that they want. They want the city. They are not going to let the city of Detroit fall. And these billionaires, like I said, they just going to get richer. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That's the way it's going to be. I don't even look at it as a class issue no more. It's just the billionaires. That's the only class that you have to concentrate on.
And what would you tell the people of Detroit and other cities who are now dealing with these emergency managers who want to cut everything and sell off everything and so on? What kind of solutions are available?
Well, the number one thing that you have to do in order to deal with this thing is that you have to learn to fight back. You got to organize. See, the key to winning and letting them know that you're not going to lay down and let it happen. And see, the world knows about Detroit, right? Well, it started with Benton Harbor because on MSNBC, they always pictured Benton Harbor, and people really got the idea about Benton Harbor, what's happening. What you have to do, like with Detroit, you have to let the world know exactly what's happening every step of the way. They're in a position now where I don't know whether we can come in and fight back. But this should be an example for other cities. Next city to go is they talk about is Chicago. Now, I'm originally from Chicago, and I was in Chicago just this past Tuesday. And I explained to people, no, Chicago is not too big to have an emergency manager. You see, so you better get ready for them and get ready to deal, because all the billionaires, all the people with money, what they're trying to do is squeeze the little people out. When there's no jobs, like when you talk about Detroit, you're talking about unemployment. Not as bad as Benton Harbor, but it's way up there in the 50%. You see, when you're talking about 50% of the people that's unemployed, they say, well, it's only 10%, 12%. That's the ones that's still looking, you see. They're not counting people who are not looking anymore. So that's what that adds up to. But this is what I would tell people now. You got to learn to fight back. You got to fight back before it happens. If you wait until it's happened, it's too late. You see, because they got the army and everything else if you decide to rise up and do something. So you have to have a way of doing it in a way that, it might be some casualties in it. But the point is, you have to stand up and fight. Because if you don't, it's going to be all over this country. And that's what we're looking at, Madison. We're looking at this whole country being under control of the rich, the haves against the have-nots. And people may not see it now, but it's coming. When I told them about Detroit, I used to tell them about Detroit. I said, they're coming for Detroit. I used to tell them. They used to say, well, we too big. They'll never touch us. Well, they got you now. So now, after Detroit, Chicago, the whole country. So get yourself ready for it. I know most people say, oh, this could never happen. Same way Detroit said, it could never happen. It happened to them. Chicago is next on the list. Yeah.
And it seems like if they're kind of testing it out on smaller communities like yours, and then if it works, they kind of scale it up to the Detroits and the Chicagos and so on. What do you think is the major driving force behind this? How are they accomplishing this?
Well, it's resources. You see, it's always known as the battle is the haves against the have-nots. The haves are so greedy, they're not satisfied with just being billionaires. Now, can you imagine he has more money than he ever going to spend, but yet he wants more. And the best example I can give you is Sam Gilbert. They're not satisfied with just that. They want to be in control of the people. You talking about drones and other things like that. These are just testing. They got this thing out now that they're trying to control people's minds with the microwaves and stuff, different things like that. This is reality, but nobody believes it. People say, well, why would the governor try to control your mind with the microwave? So he can control everything you do. It's all about control. When you have so much money that you'll never run out of money, you have to find some other toy to play with. So they're playing with human beings. They're playing with your life, my life, our children's life, our children's life. That's what they're doing now. It's all about control. It's nothing about it's not personal. It's not about being black. It's not about being white. It's all about control. That's what they're shooting for. If they can control you, they win the game. They can go home. Because that's what it's all about. You got so much money, you don't even know what to do with all the money you got. So now you want to control people, and that's what they do. So we have to fight back. Matthew, we have to tell them every week, you have to fight back. And you always have to have a plan. Don't just go out there and start doing things. But it's better to do something than do nothing. But the point is, always have a plan. And if you got a plan, you can be successful. Because I always tell them it's more of us than them, you see. And once we realize that, put that in our heads, we can be ready.
Well, that's very true. There are many more of us than them. What are you guys planning on doing in the immediate future in your local community? What kind of plans do you guys have?
Well, what we try to do, we try to have a protest as often as possible so people don't go to sleep more than anything else. Sometimes people get complacent and they don't want to do nothing. That's why you got to keep them moving, One of the things we're going to do, we got Danny Glover coming to the city of Benton Harbor on October the 5th. He's going to do a fundraiser for us because you have to have resources in order to fight. You out here fighting, if you don't have the resources, eventually they will overpower you. It's just a matter of time. But I like to use human beings. I like to use manpower, women power, and to keep things going. But you have to have resources in order to fight this battle. And they have their own little group that fight against me, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. You anticipate that, you see. But my thing is that you have to tell them, Matthew, you got to get out here and fight. You got to stand up for what's right. If it's not right, I don't expect you to stand up to it. But if it's right, I expect you to stand tall, and that's what I believe in. And that's what we have to do, stand tall for what's right. Because it's no longer about Reverend Pinkney anymore. It's not about Reverend Pinkney anymore. It's about the future. It's the future of our children. Now, children that I am more concerned about than ever before.
Well, if I can ask you, what kind of role has the local church community played in all of this? Have they been supportive and helping organize and all of that, or how has that worked out?
Well, they've been working with the other side. Matter of fact, they had a meeting about Reverend Pinkney. They said they got up in church. Now this is church. They got up in church, and each one of them got up and said how much they hated me and why they hated me. They said they hated my guts because I'm out here fighting for the future of the children and the school system, you see. And they said that what I'm doing, I'm allowing the people here to get educated on what's going on. They didn't like it. They're being paid by Whirlpool. Matter of fact, they had the PGA here, the senior PGA, and they had these ministers out selling alcohol. So you could tell the mentality of what you're dealing with here. And they fight against me, but I don't give up. You see, I fight back. That's what I believe in. So the minister here has been a big zero for the people. But they don't understand when you displace people, you also displacing the member of your church also. So the church is dwindling down. They're losing people. You know, at one time we had about 30,000 people. Now we got less than 9,000 people living here. And it's going to get worse before it gets better because we don't see the big picture. Until we start looking at the big picture, it's going to continue on this level.
Well, where are people going? Where are they fleeing to? Because it's, unfortunately, like there's not too many places where, the pastures are brighter and there's, an abundance of jobs and so on. Where are people fleeing to?
They're just leaving here, and they're running out of here. I mean, and they're the same way with Detroit. Remember, Detroit had over 2 million people. Now they got less than 700,000. Less. And they're just leaving. Most of them, they even going back south. They're getting out of this environment that they have built. And it was even more important. It's all over the country. People don't get it. They you need to stand here and fight, go toe to toe, and stand your ground. If we have to circle the wagons, let's circle the wagons, because that's what you have to do. You can't keep running, because it's not. Eventually, it's going to catch up with you. It's all over the country. Pretty soon, this whole country is going to have what they call an emergency manager. They're going to have it. They're going to have these billionaires coming in, displacing people. They're going to have it, whether they like it or not. Yeah. And people better wake up. You got to fight back. There's ways that we can fight. And like we say, it's more of us than them. How could you, the odds are in our favor. Only thing they have is resources, money. That's it. They got money, and that's what they do. But my thing is that let's fight. And I plan to fight this thing until the end. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it, you see. We got too many people who want crops and don't want to plow for them. That's one of the problems. We got to get these poor folks who don't want to do something, invite them to do something, and let's see what happens.
And how are you going about that? How are you getting people engaged in this who think, it's a losing fight, I'd rather just sit at home type of thing? How are you getting them to get up and get active?
Well, one of the weapons that I use against them I tell them it's not about you. It's about your children. Most of the time, I would say over 90% of the time, we'll stand up and fight for our children. We'll stand up and fight for our women. But we may not fight for ourselves, you see. And that's the weapon I use. Usually when we have a rally, like the one we had against the governor, we probably had more men than women. Most of the time I have more women than men, you know. And my encouragement to them is by me court watching, it let them know that I'm serious about what I'm doing. They see me doing stuff all the time, and they know that I'm not just out here talking. See, that makes a difference, too. You got so many people just out here talking, running off at the mouth and not really doing nothing, and they see that. And when they see that, they don't want to do nothing either. But every minute of the day, you know, very seldom do I have time to myself. If I'm not on the phone constantly, I'm always trying to do something, trying to encourage people. And my message to people all across the country, we can win. We can win this battle. All you have to do is want to win. And the way to win is start fighting. And those of you out there who don't want to fight, you're going to wish you had.
Yeah, it's very true. This is one of those things where people won't realize the real effects, or at least some people won't realize the real effects until it slaps them in the face, 10, 20 years down the road when all public services do not exist, and you're lucky if you can even get a minimum wage job. What exactly do you see as the future of Benton Harbor? Do you think you'll be able to turn the situation around and people will start coming back and it'll improve? What are your hopes there?
Well, I'm right now, my hope, and I'm encouraging people not to leave, to stand up and fight. And I know they're in such a compromising position when you tell them, I said, I'm going to stay here. See, I have to stay here to show them that, if I'm not giving up, you shouldn't give up. And the question is, can we win? That's why every time there's a victory, even a small victory, we gloat. We put it right in the face. And we make sure we got a newspaper we got called the People Tribune. And we make sure that we expose that to them, the victories that we had. Recently we had the principal, he was hired in, but what he did, he exposed the superintendent and everybody for what they're doing. He said that they care less about the children. They only cared about themselves and Whirlpool Corporation. He actually said that, and the main media printed it. And once again, we have people who's convinced and who understand that the real villain here in the city of Benton Harbor is Whirlpool. The real villain in Detroit are those billionaires. So what we have to do, we have to point out the enemy, and we have to stay on the attack. You see, they have ways that they can neutralize you, too. You're working somewhere, they'll talk to an employee to get you fired. They do that a lot down here. That's why people leave. There's very few places to work now. Anything you do, everything is connected with Whirlpool, and they got this group called Cornerstone Alliance. Cornerstone Alliance is what they call they spy, they dog. They send the dog out to check who's doing what. Look, they have tried everything with me. They have done everything you could think of in an attempt to do me in and stop me, and have failed. And they're going to continue to fail because I'm not going to allow it to happen. You see, I believe in being committed to whatever I'm doing. If I'm doing it and I'm doing it right, hey, I don't have no problem. You bring it on. Shoot your best shot because I'm here to stay. And I'm here to show the people that we can win this battle. And it's all over the country. We can win all over the country. We do not have to take a back seat to these people.
Well, I think your story is very encouraging, especially beating that the court case and so on. I think it's very encouraging to those kind of people who think this is scary, standing up for my future and our children's future. It's it puts you in the line of fire, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely.
But the fact that you beat it, that's very, very encouraging. Well, we have about 2 minutes left. Tell us once again about your website and your radio show so people can check that out before we have to close out.
Absolutely. You can go to my website. It's bhbanco.org and review it. And those of you who would love to donate, please, there's a button right on there. Also, you can go to blogtalkradio.com. Reverend Pinkney is the Pinkney Show every Sunday at 5 p.m. And what we do, we bring people in from all over the world to speak about what is happening to them in this country. And what even makes it more amazing, we're having a fundraiser in October the 5th at Lake Michigan College in the city of Benton Harbor. The doors open at 6, it starts at 7 p.m. Danny Glover will be our speaker. And also, Al Sampson will be honoring all the black farmers in the world. So those of you who would like to come, need to come, you can reach me at 269-925-0001. And my message to everybody who's listening, we can win. Please don't stop fighting. And those who are not fighting, please stop fighting.
Well, I couldn't think of a better way to close out the show. Reverend Pinkney, thank you so much for coming on. And everyone, you've been listening to End the Lie Radio here on UCY.TV. I've been your host, Madison Rupert. And until next time, please do check out my website, endthelie.com. You can check us out on the various social media networks and check out all the other great hosts here on UCY.TV. Thanks for listening, everyone, and take care.